All right, so join us tomorrow afternoon for a real in-depth focus on energy as the calls from many quarters for urgent action are rising. You'll hear the full interview with the Eskom CEO. We'll also bring you a range of views looking at the full spectrum, including a look at the possibility of more nuclear energy. Renewable energy players, we'll hear from them as well. Join us tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. And let's stay with this because Defend Our Democracy has added its voice to those calls for government to deal urgently with the power crisis. As South Africans emerge from a dark bout of stage 6 rolling blackouts, there have been calls for an energy emergency. The National Planning Commission, for example, has proposed that South Africa declare an energy emergency to allow for the fast construction of 10,000 megawatts of generating capacity and 5,000 megawatts of energy storage to end load shedding. The Defend Our Democracy campaign and a number of civil society organizations met with the Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, yesterday. The non-partisan activist group includes business and civil society leaders as well as political veterans. To discuss, we're joined by the co-convenor, Reverend Moss Ntlha. Reverend, thank you for being with us. What are you hoping for here?
Thank you for the audience. Yeah. I think, as everybody knows, the country is struggling with this load shedding schedules that are up and down, and the crisis is unabated. We have a sense of the nature of the crisis because of the Zondo Commission and what we saw there. What we're hoping for at this point is for a credible plan by government to assure the public that this crisis is, there is a plan to deal with it, and it's a credible plan and it's a deliverable plan. We do not want government to promise us things that are not possible to achieve. We'd like things that are doable, that are fundable. We are aware, the minister made us aware of the constraints within which the power utility works. And so we're not asking for miracles. We're just asking for a plan that is deliverable, that everybody knows will be delivered in such a time frame. And we're also calling for the electricity crisis to be viewed as an emergency. If it were an emergency, it would be something similar to what we saw in the COVID context, where almost every week the Minister of Health would address the nation with regard to the details of the crisis, how we're doing, and what measures are being implemented, and so on. We don't see any of that kind of presence at the high leadership level of government with regard to this issue. I think often you just have Eskom spokespersons speaking to it, and one doesn't take away anything from Eskom, but I think the major stakeholder of Eskom is government, and we'd like to see more involvement and accountability from government.
So that would be presumably the Minister of Minerals and Energy, the person with the legal right to commission new energy projects, as well as the Minister of Public Enterprises, maybe the President. You're calling for radical transparency. So does that mean those players should be speaking weekly? What does it look like?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I think, for example, we hear often that there is sabotage going on, and when somebody says sabotage, we're thinking about what happened last July. We would like to know that there's an effective response to sabotage of whatever nature there is. We didn't see much of that in July. And so we'd like to see, if it's sabotage, that there's a clarity of strategy about how that's being addressed. And if it is a low-intensity kind of warfare against state institutions, we'd like to know how it is happening and whether there are mechanisms in place to deal with that, mechanisms that are credible. I believe we have enough technology in this country to take care of issues of that sort, so that there's monitoring of any sabotage that is happening and neutralizing it, but also that the plans that are in place are actually doable.
Yeah.
And we know, we can know at least by when can we hope to have the load shedding as history.
Reverend, the CEO told us today that if he wants to spend 70,000 Rand, as the CEO of Eskom, he has to write a request. Talking about bureaucracy, red tape, we've heard this from government ministers. Did the minister reveal any plans that the president may have to declare any sort of emergency to deal with the red tape?
Correct. I think that's correct. We did raise the issues around red tape because that seems to be a big issue in government dealings with the public. We are cautious about that because, in a sense, we know how easily lack of red tape can actually lead to corruption, such as we've seen in the state capture environment. And so we would like red tape to be taken away, but we would like for all of that to happen while we can at least be guaranteed of accountability, that the corruption will not take place. And there's a sense in which a whole number of departments would have to cooperate if this matter would be resolved. And that can obviously be buried under red tape if that is not made to be swift and as lean processes as is possible. So I think as South Africans we are aware that there are challenges, some of which are structural, some of which are institutional and so forth. But I think there's something to be said about red tape coming in to the mix, making delays that could be avoided. And so that's what we called to the minister to assure us. And he did say that the president would be addressing the nation shortly, and that he is not at liberty to say the detail of what the president would be saying. And so we accept that, and we await to see the president's address with regard to that, and hopefully all of our answers will be able to get all our questions answered at that point.
Finally, when Defend Our Democracy was launched, you have some high-profile business people aboard, don't you? Is there an opportunity for others to get involved?
Correct, yeah. I think the Defend Our Democracy is a campaign that we intentionally opened it to all South Africans, in business as well as civil society, and ordinary South Africans who feel that we can't allow business to go on as usual, business in parentheses, in quotes, that we do need a different kind of politics in this country. And so, yes, business was represented. So the academic world was represented, but that was nowhere near the extent to which you would like to see that happening, both in business, in the academy, even in the civil society organizations and communities. And we realized that some of the challenges we face together is how do we make this thing work? And it don't only be government that can make it work. I think communities are also complicit in some of the ways in which the electricity crisis has deepened. People have not paid rates and services and so forth. And so all of us will have to pull our weight in terms of addressing the issue.
All right, thank you very much for your time. The co-convenor of Defend Our Democracy, Reverend Moss Ntlha.